Hi, friends. This is your pal Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're going to answer the question: why is the D&D design team um, reattaching danger to Dungeons and Dragons play? All right. So let me define. Wait a second. Are they doing that, Scott? Let's talk it through. All right. So there's a huge change in Dungeons and Dragons, and that is the Dungeons and Dragons design team saying, "Hey, put down the gnome bard, put down the gnome bard, put down the dwarf fighter. Don't worry about that plasmoid bard, right? Put down the plasmoid wizard. You don't need any of those, okay? When you create your Forgotten Realms character, when you create your Eberron character, when you create your Greyhawk character, we don't want you to make these expendable, imaginary, characters. We want let's skip it. We did that for the first 50 years. It was useful, and there was some use in there. We needed to go through this charade, right? We needed to pretend to the world that Dungeons and Dragons was a game, right? But let's get there now. Let's use it for what it is, right? And what we want you to do is, we don't want you to, make up, an orc cleric. We want you to be you. We want Scott Garibay to make Scott Garibay in the Forgotten Realms, to make Scott Garibay in Eberron, to make Scott Garibay a Greyhawk. How did he get there? He got there on a roller coaster. We already defined that in 1983, right? And we want you to play you in the world of Dungeons and Dragons. Wait, why do you want to do that? Well, I believe the reason why this is, I believe what I've been saying all along is now becoming widely, openly discussed among the design team, in my humble opinion. D&D isn't a game, right? Joe Manganiello came out and said, I'm having elevated discussions with people who have transformed their lives with Dungeons & Dragons, and by extension, the society they live in. That's a profound statement, right? Like, Ben from Questing Beast openly said, when people come to a 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons table, they expect that the Dungeon Master knows the rules from backwards and forwards, is a world-class storyteller, and functions as a life coach. As a life coach. What? Right? This is being openly discussed at this point, that Dungeons and Dragons is way more than a game and can be used to transform lives. That's not even me saying it anymore. Joe Manganiello is people who have transformed their lives with Dungeons and Dragons. He said it on a D&D Direct, right? Like a huge promotional vehicle for Wizards of the Coast. And they're like, yeah, of course you can transform your life with Dungeons and Dragons, right? So they know that Dungeons and Dragons is being used to improve, to learn, to grow, to transform, right? To better humans, right? So if that's your goal, right, which I definitely, it is my contention, it is my humble opinion, that that's why Gary Gygax built Dungeons and Dragons, was to fix society. First at the table, and then the people at the table would go out and fix the rest. Okay? So you have this, right? Then if there's no division, if you're simply running you in these worlds, then applying the lessons that are learned, there's not a two-step, it's a direct step, right? If you become a hero in Forgotten Realms, it tells you directly you can become a hero in this world. You can slay dragons in this world, not just in Forgotten Realms. There's no conversion that needs to be done. It's direct. But it is outrageously dangerous. This is why Mothers Against Dungeons and Dragons was formed, right? They were like, oh, this is outrageous. And they're not wrong. This is incredibly dangerous, right? If I have 12 Scott Garibays, IRL Scott Garibay, and 11 Dungeons and Dragons Scott Garibays, and now I have 12 sets of sensation, memory, and emotion, you don't think that's going to be a little bit dangerous? It is, right? So why is Dungeons and Dragons doing this? Why are they reattaching danger to Dungeons and Dragons? Well, thank you for your patience. Let's keep going there together. So recently, Professor Dungeon Master, great guy. I met him personally. Wonderful man. Pray for him every day. Pray for him once a week, not every day. Some weeks I pray for him every day. He's a good guy. I really like him. He had Mike Merles on. And he said, um, and they said Dungeons and Dragons isn't cool anymore. And I love Dungeons and Dragons, but they're right. Dungeons and Dragons isn't cool anymore, right? Dungeons and Dragons is king of the hill. They have won in every possible way. They don't compete against a single tabletop role playing game. They compete against every tabletop role playing game in existence, and they crush them all simultaneously. D&D is profoundly ahead of the mark, right? It really doesn't even have any real competitors at this point. It does have competitors that emerge, and we're always wondering, is this going to be the one? And Shadow Dark could have gotten there. Shadow Dark could have gotten there, but Kelsey Dion's like, nope, I don't want that. I don't want that trouble. I don't want that trouble. And she was right. Gary Gygax paid outrageous losses personally to create Dungeons and Dragons. Actually, a lot of people did, right? Literally huge dents, like just a pound of flesh, right? From a lot of people. Some people literally died designing Dungeons and Dragons, like quite literally, right? So during their, that efforts, that strain was part of their death. There's no two ways about it, right? The cost of Dungeons and Dragons has been extremely high personally. Okay. And I realized they're right. D&D reached a point where it's no longer cool. It's simply it's simply the massively triumphant victor, right? Now it's not having. People will tell you it's in trouble. Oh my gosh, it is far from trouble. If Dungeons and Dragons is in trouble, then every OSR in India is dead, because D&D has so many opportunities and so many irons in the fire right now. To say that they're in trouble or they're dead is ludicrous, and yet you still have ridiculous channels like Roll for God. Well, I don't know what they're doing. Every OSR in India, it outsells every OSR in Indies by probably 10 or 100 or 1,000 times, but they're in trouble. Right? Like, just absolute spouting ridiculous nonsense, right? And D&D has just video game crossovers, movie crossovers, book crossovers, show crossovers. Stranger Things 5 coming. The list goes, on and on and on. Its success is literally unprecedented anywhere in the industry, right? But it's simply a triumphant victory. It's no longer cool. In fact, it's won so hard that it really isn't cool anymore. It's what everybody looks at and grinds their teeth if they're not delighted like me, right? So so thank you for your patience. This is why. All right. Recently found these two commentators. They're culture commentators from Britain, Richard Osmond and Marina Hyde. They're brilliant. I started listening to them, and Marina Hyde said something powerful. She said, it's the quote of the week. Listen to this. She said, everyone has become a collective mass. Everyone has become everyone has become a homogenized mass of opinions and behaviors. And to be, everyone has become a homogenized mass of opinions and behaviors. And you have to be extremely free-spirited and almost dangerous to be cool. That's it. That's it right there. Everyone has become a homogenized mass of opinions and behaviors. And you have to be extremely free-spirited and almost dangerous to be cool. And this is why President Trump won the election. It's why he absolutely devastated Kamala Harris, because she wasn't cool. Charlie X said she was brat. She wasn't. She wasn't cool. But President Trump was. They're like, I don't know what's coming out of this guy's mouth next. I don't know. He's entertaining. He's real like me. I could see myself in him. I want him to win, both personally and professionally, and at the government level, right? He was cool. He was free-spirited. He was almost dangerous, and he was cool. And people were like, I'm going to pull the lever. He's no longer cool because he's the king of the world, right? And now everybody's upset. Nobody likes him anymore, right? Like, Even his own people are like, wait a second, I didn't want that part, right? But this is where we're at. This is why Dungeons and Dragons remembers when it was cool, and they're like, you know what, we can be cool again. Those mothers against Dungeons and Dragons, let's get the mothers upset again. And they're going for it. They're going for it. They're saying, let's attach some danger to Dungeons and Dragons. Every single word you just heard in this video is my humble opinion. Nothing more, nothing less. The important part is when I get to hear your humble opinion. When you get in the comments, and send your traffic. Please consider like, subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.